I tested over 150 products to boost your productivity and focus, but there are only 7 that I continue to use every day. In today's world, there are increasingly more and more things that pull your attention. So it has become more important than ever to bring your focus towards things that improve your life and things that you actually want to focus on. These 7 products I found cost less than $100, and even if it just gives you a 30% boost in your productivity, it could probably repay itself 10 times over. The first item is this kitchen lockbox. Think about the last time you sat down and really had to focus. How often did you get distracted and check your phone? This used to be a huge problem for me, especially when I started studying Japanese a couple of years ago. At the time, I already spoke a few other languages, so I knew that one of the fastest ways to get fluent was simply just spending time watching content without subtitles. And even though it sounds really easy, after 20 minutes of focus, subconsciously I'll pull my phone out just to look for something more stimulating, which really slowed down my progress. It was so frustrating for me that I tried so many different systems to optimize my focus and minimize distractions. But ultimately, the solution that worked 100% of the time for me was actually the simplest one. And it was to use this box. So this is a kitchen lock box with a timer on it, which means you can put your phone or whatever you're distracted with in it and set a timer before it unlocks. The maximum is actually 10 days, which if you're really distracted and want a dopamine detox, you could try that. But the cool thing about this box is that the only way to open it before the time is up is to break it. And once I started using this and my brain started to realize that it was practically impossible to open it, I stopped thinking about it and suddenly it became super easy to focus. But there's just one problem with this product. You can't take notes or look things up if your phone's locked away, which leads me to the next item. I actually discovered this from one of my favorite movies, Hot Fuzz. So in the movie, there's this really experienced police officer who's paired up with this new guy. And while he was giving him advice on the job, he gave him a gift and he said,
"This is the most important piece of equipment you will ever own. This notebook has saved my skin more times than I care to mention."
And so after that, I looked for a similar notebook that I could carry everywhere, and I found this amazing setup. So I have this pen that fits perfectly in this little notebook, and I bring this wherever I go. I use it to write down my to-dos, shopping list, my goals, things I want to learn more about, and it's amazing.
Yeah. What are you writing?
Everything you're saying, I might need to refer to it later.
Just stop writing. Look, I am merely trying to explain. Look, this is preposterous.
Preposterous.
Look, stop writing!
Yeah, I like it so much better than taking notes on my phone digitally because I actually have a sense of where it is in the notebook and it feels more permanent. One thing that actually helped me out a lot was to write things down to look up later, rather than just looking them up on the spot. For me, I found that it's actually kind of a distraction to have infinite information so easily, since I might unintentionally lead myself down a rabbit hole when I just look something up. This is especially useful when I'm doing work and I'm trying to stay in a flow state. But even if you reduce your phone usage and use a notebook instead, there's still the problem of sometimes feeling tired and unmotivated. But the third item that I use to boost my productivity and focus is Adderall. Just kidding. Don't do that. The third item was actually this unexpected discovery. So I found these special gum and mints that claim to help boost your focus, and I wanted to test them out. At first I thought they might just be some sort of marketing gimmick, but of the ones I tried, this was the only one that worked really well. It contains a pretty simple list of ingredients, like just caffeine, L-theanine, and B vitamins. But all of them together have been shown in some studies to have a synergistic effect, and I definitely felt that when I tried that for the first time. It's subtle enough that I don't really feel any crash from them. Yeah, and they're really easy to get. And I'm not sponsored by the company to say any of this. I will say that with things like this, it might not work the same for everybody, but for me, it gives me the perfect level of energy when I'm in a slump. Even my girlfriend, she started using them as well. But unlike this last item, this next item will actually work for people of all ages. And that's because it was actually originally designed for kids. Surprisingly, when they put it on the market, they found that it works even better for adults. But to understand why, let me first explain what the Pomodoro technique is, which you might have heard before. It's basically a productivity technique where you use a kitchen timer and you set a period of time to do work. And after that, you take a small break, which actually works quite well. It's basically like organizing a work session like a workout session, having sets and reps. But the thing is, what timer you use can actually affect your focus. So this company came along and originally they designed this new timer for kids to be able to visualize how much time they have left without it becoming distracting. And it ended up working so well that they actually conducted clinical studies on this specific timer and found that it increased levels of self-regulation. It was just because of this one simple feature that they added, this red progress. I really like how it's completely analog, and I can even set a timer with just one hand, which is super handy whenever I'm taking a break, having a meal, or going through a work session. It's so satisfying to see the timer count down as I get closer to finishing my work session. I actually use this maybe like 20 times a day, even for small tasks like cleaning my room. And because this one that I have has a cover, sometimes I'll even bring it with me when I'm traveling, because it also has the silent mode if I'm in a cafe or library. Though this last product is pretty discreet, this next one is not so much. But even so, I still bring this one every day when I go to the gym because it helps me stay focused and have a great workout. I used to always check my phone in between sets when I was working out, but then I'll get so distracted with things like responding to messages, finding new things to listen, or even just recording my sets. The constant taking the phone in and out of my pocket would really disrupt my workout. But I found a solution that has been a total game changer. So I had this selfie stick laying around and I started to use it during my workout. Since I just have my workout tracker the whole time, I can clearly see my rest timer and how many sets I have left. Just this small thing of having a dedicated spot for my phone while I work out, I pretty much stop scrolling or responding to messages in between sets. And this one thing definitely helped me focus more in the gym and get my workouts done faster. I found that making things hands-free really helps me focus. It's kind of like how texting and driving is really dangerous, but talking on the speakerphone and driving isn't. Which leads me to the next device, a product that makes things hands-free. And I actually stole this idea from an Airbnb that I stayed at. It was kind of like this high-tech Airbnb where there were a ton of gadgets, but the thing that stood out to me was everything was connected to this voice assistant. If I wanted to play music, turn off the lights, or even change the temperature, all I had to do was just say it out loud, and it would just do it. I used to be skeptical about these voice assistants, but since I set one up in my room, it's literally so convenient that it was worth every penny. I can tell it to play white noise, turn on my fan, even set a reminder. And the best part is I don't need to fiddle with any interfaces or even get up from my desk. There was a study that showed switching from one task to another can take 23 minutes for you to get focused again. And this just offloads all the unnecessarily complex tasks. There's some pretty complex stuff you can do with it if you take the time to set it up, but I definitely think this is one of those things that is worth the investment because it can save you a ton of time down the line. But the seventh product is probably one of the most powerful. Although you might not feel the positive effects immediately when you're using it, multiple studies have shown that by using this, it can increase your focus and even dramatically boost your mood in the long run. So if you ever have the problem of your sleep schedule shifting later, or even just bad sleep, it's most likely caused by blue light. Basically, blue light tells your brain that it's daytime, which means your circadian rhythm will be disrupted, since your body is thinking that you're in a different time zone. So if you wear these at night, like 2 to 3 hours before bed, it will completely block out all the blue light on your phone, computer, and even your room. Like even these type of lights, it'll block them out. Yes, there are apps that you can do to block out blue light on your phone and computer, but it's still not filtering out the light completely compared to using these. And with these, I can still use the computer at night and even watch movies with my girlfriend without it negatively disrupting my sleep, which, as you know, is the single best thing you can optimize for if you want to have more focus, productivity, and happiness. If you're new to this channel, on this channel I talk about biohacking, focus, and ideas to level up your life. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe because I'll be posting weekly videos so that we can both level up together. That's really the motto of this channel. And if you want to try any of these products, I'll have them linked in the description. It helps out the channel. But remember to focus, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.